let me show you guys how I am able to find key zones. So in this example, we can use any stock. Actually, um, we can just go to the top here if you like, and we'll look at Apple. So let me get rid of all my zones here. I'm gonna go to extended trading hours, and this is how I would trade Apple going into the trading day tomorrow. I've showed you guys many different ways to find key zones. Here is one way that could help you guys. So the first thing is I go onto the monthly chart and I look at the previous month. So we're in April right now, so I'm gonna look at March, and I just chart my 4 zones, which is the high, the low, the open, and the close. So just like this, very straightforward. I'm looking at this big red candle, the previous month, and just like that. And then we go to the weekly candles, and I look at the previous week. So if tomorrow is Monday, I'm gonna be looking at this candle right here. So I chart the highs, the lows, and the open and the close. Just like that, straightforward. And then I go to the hourly chart, and on my hourly chart I turn on my indicator here that shows me key zones. I've posted this indicator a million times, so I'm sure you guys know what indicator I'm talking about. And I just chart my key zones on here that it gives me. So I'll do this for the support levels, I'll make them green. Do this for this resistance level, and we'll make this red. And then I go to a 30-minute time frame, and I do the same thing. So we see this level here, another zone here. We have another zone here as a support. We'll make this green. And then we have another one down here, and another one down there. And that should be just about it. All right, so now that we have all of these key zones, let me make them a little brighter so you can see them. Alrighty, so now that we have all of our zones, then what I like to do is I like to actually go to not extended trading hours, but regular trading hours. That just makes it a little bit easier to kind of read what is going on. And I am looking at the chart. So this is more of like a naked chart, and it's a little bit easier to kind of see the price action. So I would not be super interested in Apple unless we come down to this 174 zone. And we can see here, so we can see Apple struggled at this zone a few times. We can see from these arrows that I'm making right here. And we can see when we finally break above, this thing does make a nice little run, and then it broke below again. And finally this thing broke out this week, right about right here, right? And we can see it came down and retested this area, broke out, came back, retested this area before it ran up to this resistance level up here. So when I read this chart, what I am looking at is, hey, if this week Apple can retrace back down to this 173, 174 zone, this is where I am interested in buying calls. I'm not looking at any downside. This looks very bullish for the short term. So I am looking at this zone right here for Apple. And this 180 zone is more of a resistance level for now. We can see right here that this thing is more of a resistance level for now. We can look as far as down here. This is more of a resistance zone once we come to this 180 zone. But for now, we look bullish at 173. And unless we can break above 180, 181, I would not be holding further than this. All right, I can show you guys another example. We can go to Meta because this is one stock that I have been looking at. And after I made my zones exactly how I showed you, the open, close, high and low of the monthly and weekly, and then the hourly and weekly support and resistance level, this is the chart that it kind of gives me, right? And now I can see for Meta, where am I interested in? I am looking at Meta kind of at this zone, this $500, 501, 502 zone. We can see that this was a resistance level in the past, kind of right here, and this thing rejected, came back down, we came back up here again, rejected, and finally we break above, and that's when we see this explosiveness. We can see it again right here. Once we broke above, we've seen it explode up to 530. Now once this thing came up to around this 530 zone, we can see it struggled. This 530 zone, it was not able to find the liquidity to break higher than 530, 531. So now it's tracing back down. And I have to think to myself, where can this thing find the liquidity to go back up? And the one thing that traders fail to recognize is, in order for a stock to go higher, it must go lower. So in order for this thing to break 530, it must come lower and find liquidity. If a stock wants to go lower, it must go higher to find that selling liquidity. So now this thing is lower, and I am looking at these zones. I am looking at these zones right here for it to find that liquidity. This 502 zone, we can see this resistance turned into support. And if this thing can find support at this level, this is where it can finally find that liquidity to move higher and break above that 531 zone. So reading stocks and reading charts, making the charts are very easy, and then reading the price action to kind of like determine where this thing is going to find that liquidity. It's not very difficult, but it is obviously harder, and that just takes time with the charts. What I do is I just go through all of my tickers when I want to practice and just see like, okay, where is this thing finding support? Where is this thing finding resistance? And just kind of read the charts. For example, SPY this week. SPY closed at this 510 zone, and I can see this 510 zone is a strong zone from the past. Even stronger is this 504, 505 zone. And that's just kind of what I tell myself is, hey, where can this stock find its liquidity? All right, guys. Peace.